Move over to yes. 9.5. All right. Um, I hope people at home can hear us. Welcome from here, because I was leaning over. It's a little bit of a delay, but make sure if someone in the public could check if the sound is coming in through, that would be great. Awesome. Then I would like to take a quick moment to welcome everyone. Down. I would like to welcome you all to our closing event of our winter preferendum organized by Volt Belgium in cooperation also with Vista and IBM. We are here today in Leuven in the beautiful university of the KUL. And we would like to thank big times already the local Leuven team that has been organizing a very interesting program today. So a big round of applause. Recently elected the city lead André Terhorst. We look forward to be working closely with you all. So coming to the winter referendum, I hear that there are people coming in. Welcome. Our German, French, Swiss delegation has arrived. Please take a seat. We're just giving a short introduction. So the winter referendum, let me quickly give an overview of what it is and how it came to be. The winter referendum is a process for both Belgium and our partners to collect, to vote, and to formalize our priorities for the Belgian federal and regional elections that will happen in 2024. Those two elections will happen in parallel with the European elections, the provincial and local elections as well. They will be on two separate dates. So some of the elections will already happen in the spring, in May, and some others will happen in the autumn, in October. Volt Europa did a similar preferendum process on the European level, which gave us a lot of inspiration, and we kind of formed our Belgian preferendum in the same likes. And all the priorities were automatically already included in the vote today as well, that concluded. So how did it start? The different steps. We had first idea input gathering phase. So that input gathering phase happened over a span of several weeks, where our policy team organized both online calls with the policy facilitator, each having their own separate calls about their policies that they were looking after. We had physical events in Brussels, in Leuven, and I think also in Antwerp at some point, where we would ask people in person what their ideas were, what their issues are currently, what they would like to see changed. And our policy team noted it down and also included that in the input gathering phase. In addition, there was also an open forum that we shared both with members of Volt, with members of Vista and Co, and also shared on our social media with non-members or people that are not affiliated with any of the parties. You heard correctly, we also allowed non-members to participate and to give input, because we believe that the citizens should be at the center of politics. We would like to give them a voice, to empower them. And one step is, of course, by actually listening to them and including their priorities in our program as well. So that was the input gathering phase that closed on the 10th, on the 5th, 6th of December, where our policy team and all its members took some time to group all the input that we received. We received input from, I think we got like 90 ideas.
If you count, there were 26 main priorities, and within many ideas, so I need to be around 100 ideas.
Around 100 ideas that were then grouped and put together into a beautiful form that was then sent out to all the members of Volt, as well as sent out as an invitation to members of Vista and Co, as well as people that were not affiliated with any parties. They could also register to give a say and then vote on this. It is very important to emphasize that this is a democratic exercise that we would, of course, do for our own internal procedures, but we would also love to see, of course, these kind of input gatherings on a more institutional level, such as through citizens, town hall meetings, citizens assemblies, both on the local as well as on the federal level. So today we have our closing event of the winter referendum, the voting phase. It concluded at 17 o'clock, upon which Bram, our dear policy lead, which I'll also give the floor in a second, has taken the time to then put all the results in a very nice, viewable presentation that he will give to us in a second. And we are very thankful for all the people that participated. Over 70 people have participated in the vote itself, which is amazing given the size of Belgium, the size of Pro and Vista. And we also saw that a lot of people that were not a member yet actually registered to vote as well and to be participating in this. So a big round of applause to everyone here for participating. And now I'm very curious to see what the results are. So I'll give the floor to Bram van den Enden. A big round of applause to Bram and the entire policy team. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. So, of course, in the policy team, we have also a lot of policy facilitators who also worked quite hard on the winter referendum, but unfortunately they could not be here in person. Some are following online. I'm trying to find the start of the presentation. There you go. So indeed, as Carlo mentioned, we also allowed external citizens to vote. However, it is maybe important to know that, of course, we added them to the safe internal Tusker system, so they had to register for our newsletter. It's not that you could just vote with a random email address. So there are some check and balances in place to keep the election safe. Some general points we had communicated before is that we will, of course, try to the vote is not a legal vote according to our statutes as an indicative vote, but we will try to, of course, respect the top priorities that are chosen by our members. Where we said at the General Assembly that we...
You may continue.
Okay. Where we said at the General Assembly that we would make a top 10 of priorities for both the federal and the regional elections. So the federal elections is Belgium as a whole, and the regional elections is Wallonia, Vlaanderen, and Brussels. And we also said that because we have the 5+1 pillar structure involved, that we will try to include at least one top priority per pillar, even if for that pillar there is no top priority in the top 10 actually. We also asked some general questions at the end of the survey, and this analysis will have to be done in the next weeks. But we can also look how different groups like female people, young people, poor people, and etc. how they voted differently compared to the general population, to the general people that voted. I mean, and we also saw that there were some sub-proposals that were possible to include or exclude. So of course it's very indicative because also for some main priorities there were no sub-proposals because they were less discussed on other priorities. But yeah, of course we will try to see that the sub-proposals that really were not liked by the members, that we exclude them, and the sub-proposals that were really liked by the members, that we include them. Sorry. Okay.
There we go.
Sorry. Yeah. So as mentioned, there were 26 top priorities, top year data, and on the last place, the sustainable prosperity. It was about replacing the GDP with an other index for prosperity, but apparently that was not very much liked by the people who voted in the referendum, or at least they don't consider it top priority. I'm going to. So on the second last place, there was the drugs policy, which received an average score of 6.33. On the 24th place, there were the LGBT rights, which received a score of 6.37. Reform the prison system received 6.54 on place 23. The circular economy, 7.04 on place 22. Biodiversity and agriculture, 7.2 on place 21. So also important to mention, so this is now all priorities together, but later in the presentation we'll separate with the federal and regional election. Promote culture of entrepreneurship and innovation, 7.25. Activation policy to move people from not working to work, on place 19 with 7.31. The smart state policy about digitalization, IT, and public services on place 19 with 7.31. 7.33, sorry. Reduce avoidable deaths from lifestyle and environmental factors on place 17 with 7.37. The future of work, on place 16 with 7.39. Citizen empowerment on place 15 with 7.47. But given that this was the only main priority within the pillar of citizen empowerment, however, there were a lot of sub-proposals. It means that we can still include it because it's the only main priority in this pillar. Common migration policy on place 14 with 7.61. Reform Brussels to, for example, merge the 19 communes in Brussels, on place 13 with 7.87. On a shared 11th place, more components to the European level in terms of taxes and other things, with 8.01. And on the shared place, also housing and city planning, ex-aequo with the competence to the EU level with also 8.01. Yeah. On the 10th place, I guess. Anyone, I guess? On the 10th place, I also don't know actually anymore. Equal opportunities with 8.13. On place 9, climate change mitigation with 8.13. On place 8, electoral reform with 8.13. So there were a lot of sub-proposals included here, but they're not yet counted fully, so we will communicate them later. On 7th place, Belgian and regional infrastructure and connectivity with 8.14. The 6th place, a common European defense with 8.25. And the 5th place, any guess? No. Education. Yeah, I will just show you quickly. So this graph. Sorry, yeah, the order is not right. So electoral no, the order is right, but the slide should have come after the slide. So for the 8th place electoral reform, I already visualized some of the sub-proposals. I'll just show you because it's there. So for example, to choose 7 priorities at election time was checked with a green mark by 43% of voters. Abolish the 5% threshold during the elections, 60%. Afspiegeling, it means that we have the Wallonian and Flanders parties forming together a federal government, so that automatically the parties, the Flanders government and Wallonian government are in federal government 31%. Coalition culture met gedoogsteun aan een minderheidsregering 40%. Directly elected prime minister 33%. Local finance voting on the local 31%. And then national conscription, so between elected federal government via nationalists and not via provincialists. Reform party financing with I think of less and term limits of mandates here 59%. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
But it means that three are enough.
Well, what we said is that we will at least try to include those who are a very high score, so the green ones. The yellow ones between 40 and 60, we will discuss further, and the red ones, it tends that the members don't like those proposals. So yeah. So there was 8 electoral reform done. We had 7 Belgian regional infrastructure and connectivity, 6 a common European defense, 5 education. So for education, there were also a lot of sub-proposals, but they're not counted yet. Energy transition on the 4th place with 8.38. And there we have also some sub-proposals. For example, energy production in the hands of citizens received 38% of the votes. Keep existing nuclear reactors open, 67% of the vote. More renewable energy, 84% of the votes. New nuclear reactors, 49% of the votes. Nuclear energy as part of the energy transition, 56% of the votes. And the Build the Ventilis project is a project in Flanders above the coast, 39% of the votes. Maybe also some people that don't know what it is.
Wondering.
Well, yeah. We'll leave us apart to discuss that now.
WhatsApp so that I don't get notifications because it's the computer. There you go. No, it was the WhatsApp messages that are being sent to my computer. Every time I have notification, it freaks out.
So, and then we are coming to the top 3.
Oh.
Any guess?
Make sure to take it.
See? Hey. You clicked it.
Yeah, but you have to click it. Yeah. You have to click that. I know you can.
The 3rd place, mobility and public transport with 8.39. What is important to say is that the results are preliminary, and so you see 8.39. Well, energy transition 8.38. That might shift from place if you do a final count, because there's only 0.01 difference, so we have to validate the results. But for now, mobility and public transport on 3rd place with 8.39. And there is also some sub-proposals. For example, monthly car-free Sundays in cities with more than 50,000 inhabitants received 53% of the votes. Circulation plans in cities, 66%. Congestion pricing in cities, 56%. New infrastructure, 69%. Expand the metro system in Brussels, 71%. Improve the operational management. That means we have more frequent trains, more trains later in the evening. 64%. More regional or rural, more public transport in regional and rural areas, 62%. Stop fiscal incentives. It was specified as stop fiscal incentives and subsidies for salary cars, but don't forbid them, 74%. And finally, consider building a tramway in all cities with more than 100,000 inhabitants, 59%. And there were some others, but yeah, the graph was too full, and the others received less votes there, so I included the one with the most votes. 2nd place, tax justice with 8.40. It's see 8.38, 8.39, 8.40 may shift a little some places, but 2nd place tax justice 8.40. So it was about, for example, reducing the taxes on labor and shifting the taxes to more pollution, etc. And even to eventually capital gain tax, etc. Investment in green infrastructure, 8.65, and that's the overall winner. So as you may notice, on the 7th place we had also the infrastructure and connectivity. So we may have to see if we can merge them, because they are both in the top 10, and they have some overlap. But this investment in green infrastructure is the winner, and there is also some sub-proposals. Increase rail investment by decreasing subsidies for salary cars, 88%. More renewable energy, especially space efficient, 61%. New nuclear energy built in public-private partnerships, 59%. Operate a federal fund for local greening and sustainability, 55%, and prioritize the energy transition, 45%. So if you take all together, then we see the 1st place green infrastructure 8.64, tax justice 8.4, mobility and public transports 8.39, energy transition 8.38, education 8.32, European defense 8.25, infrastructure 8.14, electoral reform 8.13, climate change mitigation also 8.13, equal opportunities also 8.13, housing and city planning 8.01, competences, more competence to the European level also 8.01, reform Brussels 7.67, migration policy 7.61, and citizen participation 7.47, and of course excluded the priorities which are even a lower score. So what we also, this is also quite preliminary. So this is all the 71 voters who voted. In the next slide, for example, around 20% of our voters were female, and we can also look then if that differs from the overall votes. For example, if we look to the female results, and we see education on the first place with 9.36, tax justice on the second place with 9, equal opportunities on the third place with 9, infrastructure 8.63 on the fourth place, climate change the fifth place with 8.6, sixth place mobility and public transport 8.46, housing and city planning place 7 with 8.36, green infrastructure. So you see the green infrastructure is quite lower for the female voters compared to the overall voters, and equal, especially I think education and equal opportunities jumped a lot up. Can do the same, for example, young people below 40 years. Then we see, green infrastructure. I mean, yeah. We have to have a cut off somewhere. So now you see, for example, green infrastructure is still the same on the first place. Mobility and public transport there on the second place, so slightly higher compared to the overall. Energy transition third place, tax justice fourth place. European defense, education, and so quite similar things for us. And then we come to the two most important slides, because the top 10 priorities divided by election, because some priorities were defined for the federal election, some priorities were defined for the regional election. Then we start with the top 10 regional. Then, so it's the elections in Wallonia, Vlaanderen, Brussels, and so on. Then we come mobility and public transport on 1 with 8.39. Energy transition on 2nd with 8.38. Education on the place on 3rd place with 8.32. Infrastructure on the 4th place with 8.14. Climate change 5th place 8.13. Equal opportunities 6th place 8.13. Housing and city planning 7th place 8.01. Competence to the European level. Maybe that's more federal one, we have to remove that. Reform Brussels 7.67, but of course only for the Brussels regional election. And that makes that migration is also just make the threshold to be included in the top 10 for the regional elections. And same for citizen participation. Then the federal elections. Then we have, of course, the green infrastructure on the first place. Tax justice on the second place. Mobility. Mobility and public transport on the third place. Energy transition fourth place. European defense fifth place. Infrastructure sixth. Electoral reform seventh. Climate change eighth. Equal opportunities 9. And then competences to the European Union and the citizen participation. So, yeah. So, and we have also asked for income and other things like sexual orientation, and we are also calculating everything. So I showed already female, I showed already age, I showed already, I don't know what I already showed. But for example, if we see then the people who identified queer in the survey, they have done certainly housing and city planning on the first place, followed by, but afterwards quite the same again, with mobility, queer infrastructure. But so, yeah, the order of the slide was not entirely correct because, so on her, remember, so top 10 regional, top 10 federal, those are the two most important slides. I think, yeah, that was the end of the presentation. So maybe we have 10 minutes for questions if,
If I may suggest, if we have a Q&A session to answer any of the questions here or also at home, please send them in the WhatsApp discussion channel so I can actually read them. Please say your question loud. We will repeat it here in front for the microphone so the people at home can also hear the question, and then we will give the floor to Bram to answer it. Excellent. So Xander just proposed that he will also keep a look at the YouTube channel. So if you want to directly comment a question in the YouTube live channel, you can do so directly as well. All right, then we have a microphone, but it will probably cause, so Jasper Kosemans asked whether we have a microphone. There is a microphone, but it will cause echo probably with the people at home. All right. Any questions yet? Any comments? Jasper.
First of all, Bram, thank you for the presentation, but also for all the efforts that you put in general. Amazing efforts in the past month or two. It's noticeable that a lot of time and effort has gone into it, and I think we understand. Well over the 1.5 years before the election, I think we are. My question would be, you have a separation here between the regional and the federal. It's obviously in Belgium not very easy to separate the two, and my question is how strict are we going to do it? For example, I think tax justice only on the federal level, which is, I understand why, because income tax is on the federal level. On the other hand, something like inheritance tax on the regional level, and I think both might have. So will there be opportunity to discuss this? I think it's also on levels where they are not done.
Repeat the question. It's a long question.
All right. So the question was that the difference between the regional and the federal elections is not always very clear, and that, for example, tax justice. There are also some domains like inheritance tax that are present on the regional level, while we know classify that entirely as the federal level. So the reason for that was that all the sub-proposals we received, in this case were part of the federal level, like decreasing the labor tax, shifting sort of tax shift on the federal level, also making the tax system fair for single people. The corporate tax reform that were mostly on the federal level, but indeed it's certainly possible to also look if you see that. So the purpose is certainly to have a separate election program for the federal and the regional elections, but indeed we have the overall top 10, and we can also use that in both programs. Yeah.
It's more related to differences we saw between you and men's votes. How would you actually alleviate the results or take into consideration differences in the religious and improve some debates regarding the differences between various religions, because I think they are like
Yes. Should I repeat the question again? Okay. So the question is that there were quite some different results between, for example, the overall voters and female voters. So also to clarify, so we didn't compare the male voters. We only looked to the overall, so male plus female and female, but not to male separate. And then we indeed saw, for example, and the question is if we can take that somehow into account and discuss it for the overall top 10 priorities. And I think indeed that we can certainly do that. As I also think it's something we can do in the political vision task force. There will be lunch tomorrow, so okay. But indeed, if you again look to the results between all and female, I think there is not really a big difference between which topics are in the top 10 or out of the top 10. but the order within the top 10 is quite different sometimes. And it's indeed something to discuss further in the political vision task force and also in the policy team and other teams everywhere. And then, yeah.
I mean, if I may, I think you have a good balance. Feeling and really like go into the data as you know in their
Yeah.
young people would also be interesting to see what stuff. I think this would be really important.
Okay. Sure.
You could repeat the next steps, basically, what the policy is.
Okay. Yeah, so the next steps is the next week we will finalize the count of the results. It'll also be validated by our electoral board. And then we will also discuss tomorrow in the political vision task force a little bit, for example, the difference between all and female and things like that. And then by the end of the year, this is the purpose, we have the final top 10 of priorities for both elections. And then from January to March, we will actually write electoral policies, because for some topics we already have things in our mapping policies, of course, but for other topics it's not really the case. And it's the purpose that we find for each of the top 10 priorities for both elections a team of ideally 3 to 5 people who will really write the policy from January to March. Also with some step of review. For example, we share all the documents with the membership. They can give comments. They are reworked. With then a concluding vote on a General Assembly in April. April the 22nd, there is a General Assembly of vote. But yeah, if you are, so before the preferendum, it was maybe a bit difficult for some people to say, I want to work on this topic in the policy team, because we didn't know which topics to win. But if you say, I have knowledge or I'm very interested in one of those topics, feel free to join everyone, the electoral policy team, and help write those policies in the next months. And then we have a special guest from the Netherlands. We present to you European board member Anne Koms, who will give a speech and also a Q&A session.
I have to stand in the middle between the wall and here. A little bit closer. Yes.
Cool. Happy to see you all. For those of you that don't know me yet, my name is Anouk Holmes. I am part of the European board. And before that, I was the General Secretary for Volt Europa. I'm very honored to be here today because I think it's really cool to see how you work on the policy program. But also, I'm really happy with how you helped us last night with the European General Assembly to change our statutes. And that's why I'm happy to also come here. I'm here to talk a little bit about what I do within the European board, but also to answer every questions you have. So I'll share a little bit about what I do, but also zoom in how this is connected to the work we're going to do. Because as you all know, 2024 is a super election year for Belgium. So let's make this happen. So in the European board, we are with 9 in total, and we represent Europe. So we are all also coming from different countries. We divided also all the chapters amongst the 9 of us to make sure that we really have close connections. So unfortunately, I'm not linked to Belgium, but that is my thank you. That's my colleague Rainier. So I am in contact with Malta and Denmark and Croatia. And why we do that is because I think it's really important. Europe is big, but we should also be very close to each other. And that's why I'm so happy also today that we also have Germany here and also people from other countries. I think it's important because that's how we really show how pan-European we are. And as such, we can also really, learn from each other's best practices. So I'm always really proud when I talk about Malta. Their manifesto is really cool, how they do that online. And it's really nice to see how a small chapter that is in quite a tense political situation can still, have impact on their country. So I think it's nice to bring those inspirations together. Within the board, I'm also responsible for everything legal. So that's why I was here yesterday, because it was a legal GA to change our statutes to make it possible that we can all vote across Europe online from now on. I think that's an important step in our European democracy. Then I'm also responsible for all the events. So yay, GA. 3 and 4 June in Bucharest. I hope to meet you there. And who knows where it will be at the end of next year. Chapters can apply, so who knows? And then I'm also responsible for fundraising, and I know tomorrow you have a big launch also, so that's cool. So I think it's also important to share our lessons from fundraising also in Europe, because we're doing great work there, and we also want to really look how can we spread this across the rest of Europe. Because at the end of the day, we can all donate all of our volunteer time, but the money helps us also to spread the word and to have more impact and to boost our defense. And then on a higher level from the European angle, I'm really working on the building of electability so that we can help impact in elections. And what we've done is a session that also Mike helped with a lot in our championing team. And that is that we went across to all the chapters and really did listening tours. So it's basically also how you started your policy process, because it's important to first listen and hear what people need, what the challenges are, and identify where can we really work together. So based on all of those sessions, we've presented also like our European roadmap, which is the common line of what we all need and how we can work together. So on top of all of this, you have the 10 priorities also from the European angle. The policy process is also kickstarting. 2 weeks ago, there was the policy retreat. So more will follow also on how are we going to make sure that these policies come together. And hopefully also serve as an inspiration for all of the work that you have so that we can amplify best practices there. From there, we also are part of the plan is also to have the Run for Volt program, which means that we're going to help you train your candidates, our candidates, but also for me, the beauty is, or how I see it going forward in 2024, is that your candidates can work together with candidates, let's say in Romania or in Germany, and together work on, vision pieces, opinion pieces, and really show how pan-European we are, and how Europe can come closer to people than it might become. So I can talk a lot, but for me, it's really important actually that I also talk with you, because actually I cannot do anything that I do without people like you. And that's why I always love to also reference. We have our font is called Ubuntu, and that is part also of a leadership, an African leadership vision, and that is I am because we are, and I think that's important. So I really love to also ask you, what questions do you have? What do you want to know about what's going on in Europe in general or in the board? So feel free and bring them at me. And people at home too.
Any questions there? Questions for both Europa about youth work as a board member?
Yes, I would have a question regarding, so I'm pretty new, as you know. Is there something like an organigram? Because I'm a very visual person, we would like to see it on piece of paper or electronically, doesn't matter, but we'd like to see what you would say.
So if if you are already active on Workplace, you can not yet. That's where we have most of our information, or on the Volt information platform, VIP. I'm sure Carlo is gonna, or someone from the Belgium team can show it to you, but we have the organigram that actually explains how our organization is structured from the European level. Also, who's accountable to, Fabian already. Perfect. And also, if you follow, everyone automatically follows the European board announcements, which means that you get all the information that we spread as a European board. And there is also a post on what's going to happen with the build up to 2024. And there you also find in slides, actually very visually, what can you expect and what steps can we take. So that's the first answer to your question. But the second one I also just comes to mind is that Mike is working with us from the data analytic team, really to make sure that we have a dashboard, which shows, so Belgium has already had their session of planning. What are we really going to work on? What is going to be our focus, our priorities? And it also means that you as members can see, well, how far are we? If we are not reaching our targets, what can we do to help out? And that's not only from you as members in Belgium, but how can we make sure that we all help each other across Europe? So that will help also to be much more visual than just me. So, yeah, fine.
We're talking about the policy and is there a timeline when all the information about the process is published? I was asking the same board.
Yeah.
The question of
Yes. Kai asked about the policy retreat and the timeline going forward in developing of the policies. I actually don't know it yet myself either, but I am going to have a session on Tuesday to be very informed. So I will make sure that before Christmas, we make sure that this is also shared, because I think that's where we all want to be active in. So keep me to my promise. Any other questions? So what we did is in the last General Assembly in Prague in October, we said, like we've done here, similar structure, where also we did a preferendum with our members and also chose our 10 political priorities. In the policy retreat in Berlin, there was a follow-up on how to make this come to life on the policies itself. And also last Monday, we discussed in our board how we're going to do this also with our narrative. The campaign program itself, but also like the short version, like the quotes that we're going to work on. And we're also going to establish the team to work on that. And also before Christmas, we're going to open up to vacancies for our political campaign team. These are paid vacancies for Volt Europa. So if you are interested, check our website. It will come. It's not there yet, but it will be there before Christmas. Because also there, we really want to have a strong political campaign team leading not only policy, but also the narrative and the communication. And good to know for that too, is that we're going to have a European political campaign team, which also will exist of one person representing each chapter, also from their own political campaign, to make sure that our messages are really aligned so that we're not deciding this as Europe, but actually together with everyone. Other questions? Yeah.
Best advice you can give us?
The best. It's quite a big question. What is the best advice I can give you for the elections in 2024? I think the best advice I can give you is to make choices on where you really want to focus on, because I mean, in the Netherlands, we have only that election in 2024. So that's easier to focus, but you have all your elections in 1 year. So, and I mean, it's important to not overburden people, and you can only do that if you make clear choices. So what do you really want to focus on, which elections, and really go for that, so that you also have a clear goal to work on together. In terms of like milestones on what to focus on, for me, my best advice would be to grow as members. You need manpower to spread the word in the streets. People power. Yeah. The best I can give you for now. Have you questions? Yeah, discussion WhatsApp. Then let's do it together and spread purple love across Belgium.
Thank you also for Martin.
Just want to not crazy, but some people would be very long to all day here. I would say we at the end. Yeah. Yeah.
Martin, would you like to join us? You can give the phone to Mike. We can take some pictures.
Yes.
Good.
You can send him.
Yes. Okay, well, I think I have to start by thanking you, Bram, for everything. Really, it's amazing. It's an amazing job that was done, and also to everyone who's contributed to it. So either by submitting ideas, but also by voting. So that's very important. That I hope everyone did it here. So thank you very much for that, because it's not something that is rapidly done. You need half an hour, 45 minutes just to sit down. Sometimes you don't know what exactly the policy is about, but this is all something that together we're going to continue discussing in the next years. So I think there's someone I don't know in the room. So my name is Joanna, and with Carlo, I'm the co-president of Volt Belgium, and I think everyone else I've met. I think I want to, before I talk about what's coming next, not specifically the policies, but everything around, namely the election task force, the campaign. I want to draw a little timeline from where we started this year, actually, end of April. That's where we were voted into the new board. And when we started, we all knew, okay, what's awaiting us is 2024 with 5 elections. But at the moment, in April, we still had troubles with bank accounts, and we didn't have a lot of clarity on party financing. So there were so many steps that we had to take even before we could launch, for example, the policy preferendum, or also the election passport that is coming, that will be launched tomorrow. So when we began, we thought, okay, everyone wants us to give a direction. To give a direction to the party. But this is something that we do all together. So this is why during the summer, we had several strategic retreats with also a professor from the DUB, I think, Professor Chris de Schouwer. And we thought about, okay, where do we want to be in 2024, and what human power and financial power do we also have to run for the elections. So this is how we came up with the strategic guidelines that we all voted upon in the last General Assembly in Leuven, also here in October. And so the next steps, what are the next steps? Is really to put flesh onto the skeleton of the strategy. Because we have decided that we want to run in 4 different elections. So we're doing all elections except the provincial ones.
Strategic reasons.
Yeah, strategic reasons. Visibility, but also the lack of the human power. So what is this election task force about? We are going to look for 3 leads that are going to be the brain behind the strategy. Why 3? Because we have 1 person that will be in charge, the contact point for the European elections, for the regional, and for the federal elections. And working together with all the other teams that already exist, the policy team, the communications team, community, events, fundraising, which will also be launched tomorrow. So we want to find the answers to the question like, who are our voters? What is our message? And this is why this is an excellent first step to defining a message. Because we want to have a vision, but we have to be sure of what we stand for together here in Belgium. And this will be helping us immensely. I think also especially with the difference between male and female, we have already an idea what is important for which group in society. So yeah, finding who our voters are, how much funds we need. These will all be the questions that the electoral task force is going to address. So we don't only look for 3 leads, we also look for any member that wants to join the team to think. So there are so many questions that have to be answered. If there's one that you think is interesting to you, please join the team. Because we cannot do this alone. This will be, I cannot say enough, a team effort. It's written everywhere. It's a team effort. And yes, I think I'll stop here. I'm extremely delighted to see that we've marked such a long path in just a couple of months. So thank you very much to everyone who has contributed.
Martin.
Yes, so about the fundraising, we've been working on, basically with laying the base on which we want to, approach potential donors with. And one of the priorities we identified very soon was that full-time employees should be a priority. And we also agreed that full-time employees should focus on communications. Because really noticed we're doing all these things in the policy team, and we have interesting vision and content to communicate for the program, but we really to get elected in the end. It's about spreading this message. We drafted a criteria on what this person would do. We have made the calculations with the salary, and now tomorrow we're gonna elaborate a bit more on the planning on how we're gonna implement it. So stay tuned, especially for the beginning of next year.
And then a few last words from my side, and then we'll head over to the Q&A. So if you already have questions, make sure to either write them down in the chat or remind yourself so that in a few minutes you can ask them here in person as well. Also from my side, a big thank you to everyone both present here today in Leuven, but also at home. We know that we have been struggling during the pandemic with a lot of the side effects of staying at home, not being able to see everyone. And the more important and the more also happier we are as a board that we've grown together as a team so much since then, and that we take always a positive approach to everything that we encounter, both on a personal level, but also together as a team and also as a movement across Europe. So a big thank you to everyone here. I think we also need to mention a few important names because, of course, here we are present as half of the executive board. So with me and Johanna as co-president, with Martin as treasurer, but we also have a 5th board member, Francois, who has been supporting us a lot. His function is not predetermined, and in fact, he's been helping us as a flying angel, so to say, with a lot of the different tasks, and we are very grateful for his work. Important to mention is also our former secretary of the executive committee, Manon Michon, who has been pushing a lot of very important projects in terms of equality, or also as our outreach into the different regions of Belgium. And we are very happy to hear that she is still very much beating a Purple Heart, and that she will be joining us in the next year with new energy. We would like to further mention also Jasper Kosemans, who is sitting here today as our provincial committee member for Antwerpen. Without him, we couldn't have grown so much in Flanders, in Leuven. That's mostly due to his work and also Manon's work. And we are very grateful for all his support that he's been showing towards the executive committee and also as a liaison to the different local teams. Furthermore, we would like to thank also our Secretary General, Jordi van Broeke, who is sharing a lot of his experience of his previous mandates with us. And we are very grateful for everything that he always brings to the table at our board meetings. Then, of course, by extension, also all our functional leads. Some of them we already mentioned, such as Bram van den Linden, but also we have Frans Wiggers as our community lead. We recently also received two new functional leads, one being Joachim Bonat for the experts team of World Belgium, and also Grégoire van Kaster for communications. You will hear, we mentioned a few of the functional teams before. We need all of you to participate and help us in bringing this vision that we have also decided upon today as an important set forward. So please, by all means, if you have the time, if you are curious, let us know. Let Jordi van Poeken know. And I hope that we can see you soon also in one of the more committed mandates, so to say.
Can I thank also André Terhorst, who has recently become the city co-lead for Volt Leuven, but also he is in charge for the onboardings of basically every member that is joining. So this is a huge effort that you're contributing to Volt Belgium by welcoming everyone personally. So I would like to thank you personally.
All right, then let us come to the Q&A session. I'm looking at Xander if there have been any questions yet on YouTube. Are there any questions on WhatsApp if someone could check there? Otherwise, are there any questions here in the room? We would perhaps also important to mention our dear friends from Vista. Jan Voysen here is one of the founders and leaders of Vista, a regional Flemish party that want to bring a new progressive narrative to Flanders, as well as our friends from Ik ben pro Burgerlobby, who are a collective of locally elected representatives across Flanders. We've been working very tightly with them, both in terms of events around local democracy, citizens' assemblies, but also today about the winter preferendum. So a big thank you to both you and all your members as well. We look forward to further work together with you to work on a narrative and also run together in the 2024 elections. So a big round of applause also to them. Questions so far? Questions here? I think we've been doing a good job. We've been very clear, I think. All right. Unless there are any further questions, we will just mention you can always reach us both on Workplace, on WhatsApp, via email. You can reach the board at voltbelgium.org, the policy team at policy@voltbelgium.org, the Secretary General at secgen@voltbelgium.org, and you will get the drill about the email addresses.
Yes, I would like to say that in case there are not questions here, of course, our email is always open. Everyone, so it's just board@voltbelgium.org. Please, if you have any question or technical issue or also a suggestion or something, a criticism you want to raise, please, we welcome every constructive email. So this is always helpful for us to improve. We've had several emails also from members suggesting how we should better communicate, how we should work on our narrative, and these are very, very important emails. And yes, so well, to these points, we always say, yes, we know we want to give our best, but our time is limited. Also, as volunteers, we are not paid. It's not a paid position. But I think if we collectively approach these important topics, especially communication and a narrative, then we can well make sure that these points are addressed. Yes, please.
Sorry to ask again. On practical question, is there any kind of database already or document saved? So we have discussing here lately what would be the requisites needed to candidate here, for example, in a local election. And okay, as far as the internet, it's not as easy as not so straightforward to find information, particularly if it's not about substitutes. Yeah, so this is kind of secret. Is there something like a database where we can find this kind of information?
Exactly. So I repeat the question for members joining online. The question is whether there is already a document that draws all the prerequisites for running an election, so for candidates and also as a party. Yes, there is, but not for the local level. Yes. So since you're a new member and you haven't yet accessed Workplace or the Google Drive, you can find on the Google Drive the strategic guidelines. So what we have voted in October is just Volt Belgium. Then there's a folder, membership drive, a folder on the elections of 2024, and there you can find the document. It's quite an extensive document, but also which also gives some background information about elections in Belgium. And we have listed every prerequisite for all the elections. Okay, so not the provincial elections, but the local elections. Reason is that they change according to the city, and we especially encourage the local teams to start working on it, which I have seen Volt Leuven has done. So I'm very, very proud because this is a very big step. But of course, I mean, once we move closer to the elections, we will of course look together.
Perhaps to chip in, because one of the major, let's say, challenges for Volt Belgium and also for all the partners that we're working with will be gender parity. Because one of the legal prerequisites from Belgium as a state is that the lists have to be gender balanced, meaning that a minimum of 7 candidates are required. So, so one effective candidate plus 6, what's it called? Replacements, substitutes. That means in 7, you need to at least have as a list. And out of those 7, at least half of them, so at least 3 need to be women or diverse, let's say. And that means, as we saw also today in the Preferendum, but also in our membership data, we are far from the 50% plus that we should have according to our society in terms of gender distribution. So this is also a big, let's say, oproep, like a message or like a request that we all together as an individual, but also as a collective, try to engage with communities that are traditionally not have been present in politics or represented in our elected bodies, so that we can also run effectively in all the places we would like to run. So we count, of course, on all the women to engage with their networks, but also all the men to support the women and be good allies in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah, you why why we have less women than men?
Yes. So this is actually a trend that we can observe across all different political parties. Probably the Greens and Social Democrats might be a little bit better on this front, but not perfect. So this is unfortunately something that is not inherent to our work, even as a very progressive party. And we also have quotas internally so as to make sure that different voices are heard. We are really trying to work on that because repeated also a couple of times to also our community lead and to our city leads. No women and no elections. So it's very simple as that, unfortunately. And this is we're gonna be very strict because this is in our internal statutes, internal rules that we have to have a gender zipped list. So even if the electoral law doesn't go so far, for example, in Flanders, compared to Wallonia, then we will have enough women. But we are also working on initiatives, so this is a priority also of the board, and personally also very involved in that. There is the Vrouwen of Volt that exist in the Netherlands, and we look forward to start working together as well, maybe organize also here in Belgium some events. But this is really a call to everyone. If you have, non-male friends that are thinking about going to politics, get a coffee, talk about it, and reassure people. Because I have already had many discussions with women about it, and I realized it's not only about personal motivation, it's also about your very close circle around you that motivates to do it, that tells you, yes, no matter what, believe in you because I believe in you, and no one should stand in your way. And this is really a message that is, again, it's best communicated in person. So it's super important that we all here, I'm looking at all of you and also online, really never forget that. Always encourage. Yes, please, Anu.
One thing I want to add is that within Volt, we also participated with the UN initiative, which is called P4P, and I would really recommend you help us also on this really, give you background information and P4P.
So just to repeat for our members at home, Anouk was referring to an initiative by the United Nations called He for She that Volt is participating. You can find resources online, and we would love to, if also our male members get engaged in that initiative. All right. Unless there are no more questions or no more comments, we would come into a wrapping up of this event. Thank you again to everyone who came. We would I must say, perhaps not in time for the preferendum, but definitely in time for the after social and for the dinner. We would love to dine with all of you and have a few glasses with you. So let's stick around. If of course you have to leave, that's totally fine. I guess our friends from across the borders have to leave at some point as well, but perhaps not today, but perhaps tomorrow. So we're gonna have a fun evening here in Leuven. Again, a big thank you to Bram and the Leuven team for organizing such a beautiful day. I feel very inspired. I see a lot of smiles, a lot of engaged and committed people here. So a big round of applause, and then we're gonna stop the stream as well.